Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for being here.
Uh, yeah, before you start, can you go real quick about that underworld, the starting I think on Wednesday or this week? You said the under
You mean Jupiter going direct?
Jupiter, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Jupiter is going direct on actually the 31st on Tuesday.
Oh, it's Tuesday, okay.
Uh, Jupiter is the expander. It's the planet that expands and that elevate, that expands everything. Uh, and it had been retrograde up to that point for over a year now, and it's extremely important because um, if you if you did everything right by removing any stuck energy or anything that was during the past where Venus was retrograde and Mercury was retrograde and Jupiter was retrograde, if you remove all the things that were supposed to be removed, when Jupiter comes in, Jupiter is going to expand and blow wind behind your sail and make everything that you have elevate and grow.
Okay.
On the other hand, if you didn't remove things and you're still struggling with the stuck energies and you're resisting, it's going to expand the resistance and make it more difficult for you.
Okay.
Okay? But that starts on the 31st.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'm gonna be talking about the video that I had sent to all of you, and those of you watching this on YouTube, I'm gonna leave a link below on the description for all of you to watch that video. It's Federico Faggin. He is a physicist, and he talks. His postulate is that consciousness doesn't exist in the physical body, but exists in the quantum field. Now, before I actually go into some of the stuff he's proposing, his teaching mirrors everything I've been trying to teach all of you for the past 20 years. Uh, let's talk for a moment about the difference between how science um, can declare something as being a physical law. Science measures things, and in the measurement of things, they repeat it over and over again until they all agree and declare it a law because the same thing happens every time. So science, they have to have physical evidence, and the physical evidence, whether it's microscopic or atomic particle, they have to have enough evidence to measure it, to see what charge it is, what vibration it is, what frequency it is, what height it is, what length, what width. That's the way science. Math, for example, although math, a lot of scientists are saying that math is immutable, that mathematics is immutable, but mathematics was created by consciousness. And Federico talks about this in the video. That 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 the idea that people are saying that they're going to try to describe consciousness with math, he said it's not possible because consciousness created math, and math is an abstract construct that consciousness is using to describe an inner state. So in normal physics, atomic physics, you have electron, you have proton, you have neutron, you have all these small part of a nucleus, and these items or have certain kind of charges, a measurement that scientists can actually verify and say to be true. For example, hydrogen has a certain number of electron as opposed to helium, as opposed to other carbon, as opposed to oxygen, etc., etc. Right? Now, what I want to talk about for some moment, he talks about what is called the double slit experiment. It is a very famous accident that happened. Scientists were bombarding photon, which is the smallest particle of light, which is a particle, it has a weight, it has a mass that can be measured. So they were bombarding it on a solid wall with two slits. And on the back of it, there was an empty space and there was a photographic membrane. So the scientists were bombarding it to see what the photographic membrane would look like as they keep bombarding it at different time, at different temperature, different conditions, to see what would happen. Okay? And for whatever, and of course, on the photographic membrane, the slit would allow where the photon would go through, the photon would drop in and show up as a particle bombarding the photographic membrane. And lo and behold, one day they went for lunch and they left the machine on. Nobody was watching. They walked away. And when they returned, the photographic instrument read that it wasn't photon that was being bombarded while they were out for lunch. It was a wave. A wave behaves differently than a particle. One is very fluidic and whereas a particle is very directed. So the scientists said, wait a minute, what happened? They checked the machine, they recalibrated it, they checked the experiment and redid it hundreds and thousands of times, only to find out and discover, overdoing it in different conditions, different temperature, different things, that there is an issue, there is a correlation, that when the scientist, whether the camera was in front of the wall or near the photographic plate, whatever the observer or the conductor of the experiment was expecting to happen, that's exactly what happened. If they were expecting the bombardment to result into a wave, they saw a wave. If they were expecting the bombardment to look like particle, it looked like a particle. So the conclusion of that experiment, repeated by scientists all over the world, was that the observer and the object are intricately linked. That if you expect to discover something, you, the observer, end up pushing what they call a wave function collapse. What do they mean by a wave function collapse? It means that somehow, by an unknown factor, it forces a willful solution set of your expectation. Okay? That's what I mean by the wave function collapse. In the video, he talks about wave function collapse as being free will. Now, and that led scientists now to go deeper into quantum research, which is a field that's behind even atomic particles, which is when you look at an electron under a very powerful microscope, you see a little ball that is wibbling here and there, shaking and trembling, and scientists will tell you, well, I'm seeing it there, it's there. The next thing you know, you see the next thing, it disappears. So in quantum theories, electrons are not particles. They exist in a field that permeates the entire universe, all space-time and outside of space-time. It's a gigantic field. And then somehow the electron manifests and becomes physical at moment and then disappear at other moment. He used the example in the video that you cannot separate the wave from the ocean. So for a physicist or a physical scientist to say, well, I see the electron there and it's physical and all that, they don't understand what the field actually is. The field allows you for a moment, because of some unknown factor called the wave function collapse, it allows a physicality to look like my finger, or to look like an object that I can hold in my hand. But in truth, when you go at the subatomic and quantum particle, all that there are is 17 separate fluid or kind of like waves that are floating through. And they're everywhere, even in the vacuum of space where supposedly nothing exists. They're everywhere. It's the fundamental, we talk, scientists, physicists would talk about the periodic table. The quantum periodic table is made of 17 different fluids. And these fluids are everywhere. And they are interacting with each other, and they are merging, and they're connecting, and they collide, and they create, and extremely dynamic. In fact, he says, in the new theory of consciousness existing in the quantum field, he claims that we have to agree that the fundamental principle is that it is dynamic, meaning it's ever changing. It is holistic, meaning that the entire quantum field, infinity times infinity, what we in our term call the blessed field, is so vast and so immense, but it is holistic, meaning nothing is disconnected. There is no separation. Everything is interconnected. Okay? And that interconnectedness becomes the key that binds everything. And finally, he said, the third principle is that every part of the whole is trying to know itself. Every part is wondering who he is, and what his purpose is. Mm-hmm. Now, the way he starts the video is that he talks about a drone, the analogy of a drone, that the drone is flying, and you have a visor in your head that allow you to pilot the drone, to see what the drone is seeing with their camera. And he says, your consciousness is, if your body is the drone, your consciousness is not in the drone. Your consciousness is the operator of the drone which exists in the quantum field. It's not in the physical body. Although he says our physical body, or brain, or all of a cellular structure, the 50 trillion cells in our body are quantum instruments. For the simple reason, unlike a switchboard, let's say for a computer, which understands on and off, and can do incredible computation. The human brain can do a lot of computation as well, but the two cannot compare. Because the computer only understands on and off, the state of on and off. Whereas our brain, on the other hand, he talks about the human cell. When a cell is firstly fertilized, one cell, your single cell, every cell that replicates has the same genome as the first cell that was fertilized. So that means my entire body that has composed now of 50 trillion cells, every cell has the memory and the potentiality of the original cell. So every part has the connection to the whole. And that discussion came when he was trying to explain the difference between AI, artificial intelligence, and how people are saying AI is going to replace human being. And he was saying, why would you want to do something that's stupid? Why would you want to do something like this? Because you still need the human being to interpret if what AI is doing is intelligent. Mm-hmm. Right? And more importantly, the AI switch cannot understand what the whole computer is doing. You have to program an algorithm to tell the AI, if this happened and that happened, it means that. If this happened and that happened, this is what programming is. You have to create an algorithm. And who creates the algorithm? Somebody with consciousness. So what he's saying is that the quantum field, and he goes even deeper, he said it's not just the fluid in the field. there is quantum information. For example, he talks very deeply about what he called qualia. Qualia means the actual experience of what we are feeling. Scientists, some of them, or biologists, are trying to describe, for example, love as a switch of enzyme or hormone that turns certain things in our body and that causes certain chemical, as a biochemical reaction. It is not just a biochemical reaction. What he's saying is that it is a quantum state, the same way the electron appear and disappear. It's a quantum state that takes you to a certain moment and create a sensation. And in all quantum states are inert, meaning they are internal to us, and they create a quality to it that only we can understand. This is why I completely agree with this. This is why when I have a spiritual experience and I try, or any of you have a spiritual experience, an insight or breakthrough, it is very difficult for me to try to explain it. For example, the channeling that I did for the beginning of the year, which is the prediction channeling, I saw many things. I did write for each channeling, for each predictions, 3 or 4 sentences for each one of them that came through. But the channeling, the words were a reduction out of the quantum state into a physical way, the same way you would use a mathematical equation to describe an inner connection that is vaster and richer than the actual equation itself. It's a disconnection to it. When you try to hold it and qualify it, you disconnect to the quantum state. I don't remember which philosophy class I was taking when I was in college, and I remember we were talking about this, and one of the professors was saying that every time you have a spiritual experience, or a mystical experience for that matter, you have to talk in allegory to try to explain to someone else that was outside of yourself what that intimate experience was about. Qualia is that experience, that inner experience that you have that you don't have a way to describe, and the moment you begin to describe it, you disconnect to it. It creates a distance. Okay? And that inner experience is the quantum information state or quantum bit state that it talks about. And that bit state allows you to have comprehension and insight. Aha! That's what it means. Because when these things come, when I'm doing the torsion field, it's not a lot of time I say I see, but I don't actually see. It's more like I know. In an instant, I know. The stuff just rises inside of me, and I know. It's like, aha, I get it. And then from the I know, you go into meaning. If this is valid and this is what the feel is telling me, and it's very fluidic to me, because when these things happen, I feel like a wave just touched me, like I'm being washed with something. It just, boof, it just hits me. And the moment it hits, it also provides me with a meaning. And what he's saying is that there is no separation in the quantum field, that all of us, whether it is Kit, Janice, Esther, Bobby, all of us here, that our soul or our consciousness exists in the quantum field. And we are being, and I've said this to you, I've shared this recently in many of my videos. Ascension is nothing more with the torsion field that we're doing than an extension or an elevation of ourself outside of our body, and the realization that, as he said in the video, that the observer that I am and the object and the observed are the same. I've said this to you before. After doing the torsion field, sometimes you're going to feel like you're taller, bigger, and you're outside of your body. He talked about an experience he had in Lake Tahoe where he was right there at Christmas, and a light just projected out of his chest, and he felt love. And the light was scintillating and brilliant, and then dispersed and went everywhere. And all of a sudden, he realized he was in his body, but he was also the light that was dispersing. Okay, so he was also expanded into that awareness that he was not only the object, but he was also the observer, both at the same time. I've said this to you before. Sometimes it's multisensory. Sometimes after the torsion field is done, I feel that I am at the depth of the earth, I am in the middle, and I'm also extremely tall. All of them, I'm tri-located at the same time in all these places. And only connection to the quantum state, or the blessed field in all terms, can allow you to have that kind of experience. I actually believe that experience he describes in the interview is the first level of ascension. That experience is actually the first level of ascension. And actually, what did it do to him? Instead of him continuing to be a physicist, meaning an imperialist, empiricist, it veered his consciousness and the course of his life completely, because he realized something else was happening, and he had to unlearn 30 years of being an empiricist to now figure something else out. So we need to understand that this idea of every part of the consciousness that populates infinity times infinity. And by the way, space-time exists inside this quantum field, but consciousness is actually beyond space-time and beyond dimensions. It inhabits it because it's everywhere, but it's beyond it. So I'm looking at my note. So we should be concerned in our own teaching as it connects to us. He's basically saying in different terms what I've been trying to teach you or help you, particularly of late, the past, let's say, 6 or a year or so, 6 months or a year or so, that we really need to understand that ascension is not just the company of angels and ascended masters and spiritual beings. That actually is an expansion of our actual consciousness into the volume of the torsion field. And as that awareness becomes the observer and the observed simultaneously being unified and connected, then ascension begins. Now, what he didn't go over, because as an empiricist, he still has to convince the rest of the physicists in the world that what he's saying is true, and he's proposing, he wrote papers with this other physicist, and he's proposing this as a serious theory of reality and how the world operates. He cannot talk about this stuff yet, that actually there are other qualities that are connected to being in that state. The field is highly intelligent. Highly intelligent. If you can imagine for a moment that everything that's alive at a cellular level or beyond, anywhere in the universe, is actually alive and has consciousness in it. And that being the case, then it's a vast and infinite network. And whatever information that I need, for example, about a particular issue that I'm dealing with, or a friend of mine is dealing with, whether they're having problem, with the pain in their back, or they're dealing with a lack of some kind, or what's happening in the world in America right now, what's happening in Europe, what's happening weather-wise with the atmosphere of the planet. Whatever it is that you're trying to figure out, when you connect to the field, if it's a deep concern enough, the field will possibly, this is why it's dynamic, it's never the same. And remember, I keep telling you all the time, I don't have any powers because I don't know how to control anything when I go in the field. I know how to connect to it, but I don't know what the results are going to be. When there are certain times I bring certain issue, and the moment I bring them, the wave function collapse happen, and immediately a solution set precipitate, and there's an instant physical miracle, instantaneously. Right? All of a sudden, there's a gigantic shift. And instantaneously, all of a sudden, there's a phone call, or somebody, whatever it is that I was asking for, or I was wondering about, it shows up. By somebody showing at my door, or, some sort of instantaneous result. There are other times where it takes the next morning for it to show up, or it happened in a completely different way. It's very random. I don't control it. And this is why you were saying that the wave function collapse, if a scientist is trying to measure a quantum state, they create an instrument to measure it, like the hadron, the accelerator in Lucerne. They create instruments that are very sensitive to pick up these things, but they don't know when the particle shows up, physically shows up, appear for a moment. The subatomic particle appear for a moment and shows up, and they measure it. They don't know why it happened. There are times it happens, there are times it doesn't happen. So it's that, and therefore, in some view of some scientists, that's not, although it showed up at moment and they were able to measure it and photograph it and do whatever it is, catalog it, but it's very troubling for them because it's not something they can repeat at will. They don't control it. And he talks about this, the orthodoxy of science, who is trying to control this because it makes them feel powerful, because they have formula and they are boxing these things in pigeon boxes, and they are saying this is left, this is right, this is center. When in fact, if you allow the field to take over, and this is what I'm trying to get you all to do, is that when you go in the field, let the field take over. The field is much more intelligent. It knows what you need, and it will provide you with the exact solution set. And he talks about, also in the video, about the fact that, and I've said this before in channeling, in connection, endless solution set. He talks exactly about this. That the field has, there's endless possibilities. He talked about the fact that if you think of it as a balloon, okay, and you're in the center of the balloon, if you go in any direction, there's an infinite number of positions that you can take from the center. And that could be, for example, a module, what should I be doing right now in my life? And there's endless number of solution set of what you should be doing to fulfill your purpose. And randomly, as you're asking for advice, the field will select the matching solution set that at the moment you are asking in time will suit you perfectly, and it will click, and you will have an experience that will go aha, and then it will give meaning to yourself, to you, and at that moment you take that internal state and you move into the manifestation of it, to cause the quality of your life to change. It is a big deal what he's proposing, and he's gonna literally, a lot of people will lose their job. I, I have to tell you, and he's gonna change the world. He's 83 years old. He's a rock star. Any questions? Any comments?
Well, it makes sense to me, Pierre. Uh, I mean, it's just so much there. It's like the computer tells you what is known, and it can pull that together quicker than any human can. But it doesn't take you into what is unknown or the consciousness of that to be discovered at some point into the future. And, I mean, there are just so many things when you look around um, that gives, at least for me, that lesson. I mean, it's like the fingerprint. I mean, of all the people in the world, no one has the same fingerprint.
Hmm.
I mean, a computer can't do that. I mean, there is the consciousness of, I guess, the greater whatever, or the universe, that which is, the one of all, you know, can only bring that about. And, we are part of that, and we are all of that, but at the same time, we are not the creator of that, if that makes sense. I'm
Hmm.
not sure it does. But anyway, I mean, I think that I like the idea where he is given language to pulling it together. But, you know, throughout time, you and your teachings, the Kabbalah and their teachings, when they said, energy cannot be created or destroyed, it can only be, rearranged in frequencies and all of that, um, and states. But, it makes sense in terms of, I guess, expanding our, well, it's given a greater population or a population a way of looking at things that is not just in the polarity or duality that, you know, we tend to opt to most of the time.
Thank you, Esther. While you were talking, the thing that occurred to me is that that kind of awareness and understanding in that video, an average person will watch it and go ballistic because it sounds like crazy talk. I'm looking at the table, the cup, the walls around me. I see it as solid. What do you mean? And it's composed of electron, proton, molecules, and what do you mean it exists in the quantum field and it's there and it's not there at the same time? Because in the quantum state, everything exists as potential for manifestation. There's nothing that's really determined. It's an undetermined state. Everything is exists as an endless number of possibilities. And for whatever reason, that state called the wave function collapse occur and create what appears to be as a solid object. Okay?
And
And,
I see, oh, go ahead,
no,
Pierre.
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
No, no. I mean, I just had this thought, and I don't know. I mean, I see. Well, it's a thought, okay? Don't judge it too harshly. I see. Um, the quantum field. It's what is given to us as that co-creator uh consciousness in space. Because it is that place where humans are co-creators
Hmm.
in, in the big scheme of things.
Yeah.
So it is that join from that field, or that field existing that allows us to be co-creators.
Hmm.
It's really,
And to our average person, somebody that's all about the physical 3D world, living in their five senses in this Zarapin or the illusion of the world, it's very difficult for them to understand. What do you mean by the quantum field? A field of possibilities and endless solution set. I don't understand what that means because I'm living in a world where if I walk in the wall, I'm going to get a concussion, right? Do you understand?
yeah,
But but however, when we have that old proverb back in the Caribbean, you have to know there to go there.
yeah. That's the consciousness about it all, right?
Right. So the idea, and this is what I was trying to, I related so much with what he was saying that I cannot disprove to you that the wall is not there, but I can take you to a state where your consciousness can move through the wall.
Mhm.
I can take you to a state where, for example, if you need whatever miracle to happen in your life, where you can negotiate with the field directly, and the field will listen and provide you with an unexpected and miraculous result. And it's always something you don't expect.
Mhm. Mhm. True.
Because by my own head and technique, if I try to figure it out, it should be in purple, it should have white polka dot, it should be done, it should have lace in it, it should be exactly. Whereas the field, no, something else shows up. And it's exactly what I needed. So, and once you begin to have a few of these experiences, it's like somebody was asking me, can you prove that God exists? I cannot show you where God is, but I can take you to a state where you can experience God. I can guide you into that state because that's what I've been doing with all of you. I can guide you into a state where you become connected to the field. My personal experience of God or the quantum state or that inner state, the state of called the quantum information state, is very specific to me. Very specific to me. It won't be exactly the same thing that's going to be replicated for you or for Janice or anyone else. It will be personal to me.
Mhm.
And because of this, I have to allow myself to. But there are similarities. There's a lot of similarities because we all, and my soul and my consciousness is an entanglement with yours, with everybody else, and with the whole field. Because we are all part of the whole, and we're quantumly connected as part of the whole. The same way this one cell in my body is connected to the same genome that created my whole body.
But there's a beautiful poem by Remy, and it's "I'll Meet You There." I'm not sure you're familiar with that one, but it's saying that outside of all of our experiences and the limitations that we see, it said, meet me at that place where we are one.
Mm.
But it goes into making, bringing some of those alive, outside of uh, religion, outside of the map, outside of you just, but it's very beautiful. But that just reminded me, it's like, let's meet at that place where we are one.
And connected to this, although he didn't say this in the interview, but connected to this, he also it was stated the fact that uh, uh, was implied, I suppose, but we are experiencing it ourselves. My entanglement with all of you in the blessed field.
Yeah.
So basically, if you're in a state of hurt, or I can intercede on your behalf, or you can intercede on my behalf, and together we can intercede for a greater cause.
Mhm.
There's so much to talk about with all of this. And I just wanted to add a couple of thoughts, if I may. We are one, all having an individual experience, returning to God, what part of as a mirror back to him or her or them or whatever the pronoun should be. Yet we are all connected, as you just have been saying, and oneness and so on. Uh, Yet the qualia that we each experience cannot be shared because of some imagined individual separation that seems to me to be averse to the oneness concept. That if we can get past the individual meaning that we have experienced in our lives and whatever the individuality has created, that that should be shareable in its essence, not just trying to express it in a classical, I think was the way the Mr. Fagin was talking about, uh, in finite terms. We should be able to share that. And I wonder if that isn't one of the elements of the higher dimensions as we ascend. We know the space, the length, length, well, the four dimensions, and the time adding to the the next dimension. Maybe that is one of the continuing expansions of our being that we reach in a higher. I don't know. I just couldn't help but share a couple of observations. Maybe is the word.
It's beautiful observation, Janice. As a matter of fact, it's very important. And this is the thing that he couldn't say in the video, I think, because you and I are doing this already. Exactly what you're saying. The qualia is connected, is very personal to us. And if you try to put it in the classical term, which is the physical term, you lose it. You lose some of it. But what happened is that there are certain way to code certain things. For example, when an artist creates a piece of art, or when you sing a beautiful aria, and the way you interpret it and sing it, it has a transcendental quality that anyone that hears it and hear a recording of it, even 100,000 years from now, they are immediately are going to be transported to the qualia that you're experiencing. There is a way to transmit it that's vibrational and frequency, and this is where entrainment comes in. I'm going to give you an example. In the channeling that I did for the predictions, now that I'm rereading the channeling, I'm realizing, although the words were there and they are abstract in the classical term of the actual connection that I received, me now looking back at it 3 months later, the moment I read it, I go back into that state and I understand because it expands inside of me. A great poet, a great writer, with their writing, will encode certain things in what they're saying. And that encodement will suddenly, and we call it poetry, we call it the quality of the writer, but that in itself will transmit something. And the moment you see it, there's sometimes you see a visual art. You go to a museum and look at a sculpture, or for that matter, a painting. You look at the Mona Lisa, and there's something that's transmitted to you as you're looking at it. So part of the qualia can be coded so that if you and mystics knew this in the Kabbalah, they use certain kind of symbol and glyphs that if you meditate on them long enough, it will create a gateway, a doorway through which you will experience. You go back into the quantum state.
Say that again, Pierre.
In the Kabbalah, they, for example, use certain symbols, glyphs, and certain symbol where the moment you meditate and you focus on the symbol and the symbology, remember the nape of the neck exercise we used to do. The moment you do this, it codes, it's coded in there a connection or gateway or doorway to take you back into the quantum state. Ancient mystics knew this, and I'm gonna go even less complicated than this. When you're listening to me or to anybody else who's a great channeler, when Lord Melchizedek came in the last time in channeling, his voice and the words and everything that he's saying, although he's stepping it down, but there is a transmission being given that activate in you a quantum entanglement to take you back into the qualia.
And yet everybody viewing the Mona Lisa, or reading Rumi, or hearing a great creation of music will have an individual
Correct.
reaction, experience, or their own feeling.
Yes.
While sharing the outermost impact of it, right? So, but it is that a temporary state? That where we are headed is that reuniting of the oneness. So there won't be, or it is the beauty in the individuality within that.
The beauty is in the dynamic nature of it. It's the fact that each one of us, and it depends on your growth and your maturity and your spiritual intelligence. There are certain people who are more sensitive, who will get deeper and will understand certain nuances that, I'm looking at the channeling back and I'm looking at what's happening in the world and I'm rereading it and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't see that before. And then I thought for a moment, I went back to where the channeling was coming. And I realized that the moment I received it, it wasn't just the word. There were other things inside of it that I'm now unpacking. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you understand what I'm saying? 3 months later, I'm now unpacking them. I'm like, oh, that wasn't in it. That was originally in it.
And the beauty of all of this is in the sharing.
Absolutely.
So maybe the individuality really is the gift, because then we have the opportunity within that quantum field, the blessed field, to present a unique perspective.
Yes.
That will touch others in ways that they hadn't created
Absolutely.
So maybe the individuality, like the cells in the body or the molecules in the water and of the ocean, maybe they all do value that individuality, yet be part of the whole. And maybe that is the perfect solution, rather than merging as one huge wave.
And I think there's beauty in both of them. I think we have to navigate. Of course, the ego always is a problem, particularly when you have an agenda and you want to make it personal to you and you have attachments. All spiritual teaching tell you non-attachment is the way to move. But as you let go and surrender, you go from ego into. It's very strange when you're in that state of rectitude or of expanding outside your body. You have the non-attachment. You're in this world, but you're not chained to the world. That's the best way I can describe it. You look around, you look at what's happening around the world, but the fear for what is happening in the planet right now is not present. because you are connected to such a deeper and higher truth that you are still at rest because uh, the field in you are one, and you know that you're supported and that no harm will come to you.
You know what came to me when Janice was speaking about the individual? What if it's not about individuality at all? About infinity times infinity. And each of us are experiencing that part that we are able to experience.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, each one of us are contributing
Mhm.
to self or the entire field of consciousness or the consciousness of God to know itself through our own personal individual experiences. My unique exploration with, you know, and determining trying to know myself. Your unique experience of trying to figure out and know who you are and your connection to God. And each one of us arriving at it at different time and different places and different breakthroughs. What Federico is doing, right? What I am doing, what you are doing. All of it together compose the vast and the immense consciousness of the uncreated, of infinity times infinity.
So it's really, and I'm just dealing with my thoughts now. It's really not necessarily then individual at all. It's just the way we are experiencing infinity times infinity.
Yes. And the unique way that, and this is the part that we should emphasize. Each one of us is a unique manifestation of God.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The unique way in which we disconnect first to God and how we reconnect back. It's the in and out breath of God in each one of us.
Mhm.
And it's a very potent thing because as we are going through it, it can cause quite some turbulence. It can cause us to doubt a whole bunch of things. And like Federico was saying, that at one point he was facing the imposter syndrome. He had all achieved everything that he was supposed to achieve in the world to be happy, and he was still miserable, right? And he said that at that moment when he had that experience, it changed everything for him.
Yeah,
Because
at this point, and I'm just, it's just coming into my head, really, is that what causes the conflict might be is that we see it as individual rather than infinity times infinity, and we're experiencing portions of that.
and and, uh, and the other part that's also important to understand is that if you don't go to a if you go about your life being, classical world, physical, 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 only physical, you probably are not going to bump into that higher awareness. You have to be a little bit more deeper and more profound, and you have to search for that meaning. And when that meaning arrives and when it gets to you, all of a sudden, once you move through it, once you move through that boundary, you can never go back to being um, uh, connected to only classical again. Once you move once through it.
And I guess that was the point that at least I was attempting to make in what I said. Because if we see it as part of infinity times infinity, and we are experiencing part of that, it's not closed off,
Mhm.
it's expansive
Yes.
rather than us putting ourselves in that little box of the individual.
Right. And here's the thing as well is that when you are really in that field, your individuality is put on hold. Your ego is put on hold. Because if you go in with your ego and you try to move and control it, you disconnect.
That's, I guess that was the point that I was attempting to
Yeah,
get at.
you disconnect. So you have to go there with such humility, and in other words, for you to connect, you have to surrender. You have to let go of so many things and allow an emerging awareness. And again, this is the thing you kept talking about. Emergence is a quantum state. The idea of a concept that didn't exist before to come in out of nowhere. Only the blessed field, only the quantum field can actually give you that. And God knows every time I go into that state, ideas that are not mine are dropping in all the time. Everything that I'm teaching you for the past 20 years has come from that field. I'm not smart enough to be able to come up with all that stuff.
But then you're seeing yourself as an individual.
Right. I'm talking about me as an individual. That's correct. My brain function.
That's
But my consciousness in the
what,
field has all that intelligence. Correct. Correct. Yes. Correct.
Like the cells of the body, they are individual,
Yes.
yet they are interdependent, and they contain the nugget of the whole. In
Yes.
other words, there is an individual part of them at the same time that they're part of the whole, right?
Yes.
So we can't ignore their individuality at the same time that we
Correct.
we uh, assign or assess their oneness, I guess it's just
Their
as
connection to the whole. Yes.
yeah.
Correct.
I
Okay.
Totally.
but the thing that came to my mind is that if I were to go to the ocean and take a cup of water, I mean, if I say it's just a cup of water, I'm disconnecting it from the ocean. But if I say it's ocean water, it is the same as the water in the ocean. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Well, anyway, this is all very empowering, knowing as we have learned with you, Pia, over the years, that we are not limited in the physical constraints of 3D world, but we have access to this blessed field of infinite information,
Hmm.
uh, potentials, uh, expansion, and growth.
Yes.
I believe it is our saving grace in today's environment.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm for me, it was confirmation because sometimes I think because I'm the way I teach and I don't, you know, I found very few other schools or teachers that are teaching things that are akin to me. There are a few, but not all, not a lot. I feel a lot of time that I'm in the middle of a desert and I'm preaching to the wind. And hearing and seeing this, I felt like I was going home.
Mm.
It's a beautiful feeling.
Mhm.
I felt like I was going home. I'm like, yes, yes, exactly.
Mhm. Mhm. Confirmation.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. I want to talk very briefly about the torsion field that we have practiced that we're doing. And maybe it's me, but as I'm doing the torsion field, I had this issue. The first torsion field that comes from the core of the earth, counter rotating, moving through the bottom of my feet, my core exiting outside of my head, going to the top of the fourth dimensional body, and then spreading out, wrapping around me, creating the donut. I'm fine with that. When the second torsion field comes in from the second guardian and it begins on the top of the fifth dimensional, I have a lot of problems for all the torsion field that are dropping down because I keep thinking that the source of it is coming from inside my head, like I'm trying to create it. So I have changed that for a week now, and I'm going to change it in the meditation that I'm going to do with you, where I'm going to ask for the second guardian to come from source and drop into the top of the fifth dimensional body and begin now to clockwise spin, go down into a core, the core of the earth, and at the bottom of the earth, wrap around and create the torsion field around it. I found this incredibly much more easy for me rather than me trying to figure out. Part of it is because we are witnessing what the guardians are doing. But if I'm looking at the wrong place, I'm not going to see it. Where your attention is when you're doing the stuff becomes key. So every time I was doing, sometimes I see it, sometimes I don't see it. Sometimes I'm like, what's going on? And I realize that the moment I say now, the same way I'm asking for it to come from the core of the earth, if I ask when it's coming from above me to come from source and drop into the top of the seventh dimensional body, on top of the 11th dimensional body, all of a sudden, it's so much easier. So I found that it has helped me a lot, and I'm going to try it out with you guys tonight when we do the practice. And I don't know if you were having problem with things akin to what I'm saying, but I was finding, for example, when I get to past the 11 or 12 guardian, the 11 or 12 dimension, I was having a lot of problems. Sometimes I think it's buckling, it's collapsing, it's not extending higher. It just feels like there's a bottleneck somewhere. Right? And I realized it's because the origin where the descending torsion field was coming from was inside the column that was being created. It needs to come from source. Does that make any sense?
No, I hadn't had that perception, so uh, I I guess I imagined it or saw it coming from above
Oh,
and
good for
dropping.
you. Good for you. I was having a different experience. Good for you.
Oh, well, I had experiences, though, that were very interesting this week of being the witness rather than the manager of the torture field, and that I have found that there are a lot more cases where pauses happen,
Yes.
where 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 I've learned that it is um, addressing a healing, but not on me, me in whatever dimensional body
Yeah.
is, and it's more of a chakra balancing or healing rather than any kind of physical,
Hmm.
if there are physical bodies in the higher dimensions, I don't know. But the whole concept of being the witness has helped me a lot uh,
Yes.
to uh, to observe
Yes.
how this is happening. By observing, I no longer had that bottleneck of how that upper initiated torsion fields were created.
Yes. 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 And again, I like the fact that you're talking about the pause because multiple time, all of a sudden you're doing torsion field is being created, and all of a sudden you're like, what just happened for the past 5 seconds? It's like you went into a still,
Yeah.
okay? And as you said, something was being repaired,
Hmm.
something was being done. You need to continue and pick up where you were and allow for whatever the guardian is doing to continue to do it,
Hmm.
and just witness what they are doing because they know better. I feel in a lot of ways vindicated because who knew when the first guardian showed up to me in 2008 to tell me, to show me the torsion field technology, that that this video, this all of this knowledge was connected to it. At the time, I thought, you're tripping, you're hallucinating, you're creating this thing out of your head. It's not real. But there's a part of me that knew it was real because many people benefited from it. People in my proximity, people in my circle of influence, many people that I interceded, I did intercessions, prayers for, people I took in meditation. And here is the other thing as well, Janice, you were talking about before, how you cannot share the quantum state that you're, the qualia, the meaning that you have, but you can share it with entrainment, meaning there are times when you're doing a hands-on healing or remote healing for somebody, that remote healing transmit the qualia to them. It transmits it. And their lives all of a sudden is changed. The healing goes in. When you're and when you're doing the qualia and a group healing, like 3 or 4 people together or 12 people together, doing it for a particular cause that's greater, it's even stronger.
Sounds like the Matrix.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's not a you don't need now to have the what's the word? The there are deeper qualities connected to it that you and I have experienced already. Okay? That was not in the video. There are all kinds of healing quality to it. There's your quality of life and everything around you. If you remain in that connection, in that state, and that awareness, as much as you can remain in it, you will be a completely different person. Now, Federico, for sure, is in that state now because you see him the way he was animated during the interview, the laughter and who knew? This is 83. That's a good 83 years old. You know what I'm saying? He looks like he's in his 50s. Or at least 60s, you know what I'm saying? Just like with such energy. And so the way he is so animated and tapping this chair and going, no, because of this. I was like, wow, you go. So there is physical improvement in your body, in your DNA, but there is also improvement in terms of your quantum entanglement with the rest of the world. And the deeper, the more connected we are in the torsion field, the more you accept your identity in all these higher dimensions. And you know who you are in each one of them. If you accept even up to the 12th dimension, all of these parts of you, you will send gigantic waves through the ether of the earth that will change everybody around you. Now imagine what happened when you now claim your identity in all those dimensions. The entrainment as a magnetizer will extend beyond that, and you will change people around you. They will change like a customized. It's a general frequency. The field will take care of it, and then it will customize it to a healing that they need. The exact entrainment that they need. I think a lot of people in the light community misunderstand Ascension as being something that it is not. Any other questions or comments?
Well, if we as you said, I mean, as the challenge says, if we pray for peace in the world, that, I mean, that's part of quantumly it could happen. I know.
Absolutely.
Okay, okay. It's already out there. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Things are rearranging. Okay. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. This is the whole point of us doing this.
Yeah. Mhm.
Is for us to intercede
Mhm.
collectively.
Right.
Is
Okay.
that that's very interesting. If the concept is very familiar, at the same time, I was more focused on developing, improving myself, and that in its essence would impact the global super or unconscious or whatever to create a better world. Is it better indeed to, as Bobby said, to actually envision or imagine a beautiful world?
Both are necessary.
Uh-huh.
So you start first with self, and then from self you go into what in Indian philosophy they call it the seva, the service.
Mhm.
You start interceding for others because after a certain point of growth you realize that you cannot grow anymore unless you're helping the people around you evolve as well.
Right. So that raises a question in my mind at the moment. When you try to assist somebody with some healing that they have uh, asked you for,
Yes.
you in your celestial healing, I'm sorry, I've got the wrong word for it.
Yes.
You extend the torsion field to them,
Yes.
raise them up to source, and let source manage the healing.
Yes.
But you're not actually praying, please heal this person, right?
Well, if you're taking them because they have a healing, let's say they're telling you whatever the problem is, it doesn't matter. There is an intention silently that's already there to heal them.
Of course, yes. So
Okay?
you're not asking for healing, you're moving them with their agreement uh, to a place where God can make that
Yes.
happen.
Correct.
Yes. Okay. So in terms of the world, would that be the same? The peace
Yes.
of the world?
Yes.
You would not accept that you have the intention in your heart.
You have intention in the heart. You want peace for the world.
I see. Okay.
Okay? You have an intention in your general intention, peace for the world. It's like top level. It's like Gandalf saying, "You shall not pass."
Mhm.
It's a general, vague, and broad intention.
It seems.
Sometimes it doesn't have to be verbal. You don't have to say it out loud.
Mm,
Do you understand?
mhm.
If I'm doing intercession, someone is sick and they're asking me to pray for them and I'm taking them into souls, I don't have to repeat a prayer from the Bible, like a psalm or something like that.
Mhm.
The intention of I'm doing this on their behalf because they're sick and I'm taking them to the source and I'm asking God to manage the healing for them. So that is a huge help.
And you're not asking for any specific way that, or any
God, God, no,
specific benefit,
no,
because that will be God's choice of,
that's correct.
right? Except,
And its solution set, correct.
and except for now this word that Federico Faggin has introduced to me at least, the qualia
Yes.
maybe could be in your mind, your heart, as you're interceding, so that however it should manifest, it is that quality, whatever the healing is, the freedom, the peace, the humanitarian relief. Would that be part of?
I'm not getting into the details. I'm gonna let God manage that.
So part of it is just the abstract
The
healing,
abstract
peace.
desire of peace to the world. Peace, you know, let all world leaders find peace.
So there is a, a specific
Yeah, I mean,
purpose.
you make it as abstract as possible.
Right.
The
Okay.
least specific it is, the better it is.
I was thinking about how the power of thought, imagination is so creative.
Yes.
That maybe part of it would be this qualia of transmitting of an essence of a state that
You know what's interesting, Janice? When you go to do the intercession or prayer for somebody, whether it's the planet or somebody individual, when you go in and you try to do it, if the intention is not clear or not acceptable to the field will let you know.
oh, interesting.
You're going to try to do it in the prayer and you're going to feel something is askew, it's not working.
Oh,
And if you pay attention and you listen, the field will correct you. Change it to this.
yes. Okay.
The field is extremely a great teacher and very self-healing.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Good.
So the first day you try it, the second day, and you're like, something is not right. Something is not, and then all of a sudden, there's going to be a shift.
And then if you're doing it repeatedly,
Yes.
you must not ask for the same thing again. It's like you say, it's like sending a letter. Either you do.
Not necessarily. For example, something as complex, for example, as peace to the world, given what's happening in the world right now, you may want to just abstractly ask for peace for the world on a daily basis. For
Well, there
example,
you
I've
go.
been praying to Archangel Michael on a daily basis for several months now, because I feel that I need the protection given the state of the world at this moment. There's nothing wrong with praying and asking, for example, I need protection. You don't ask it just for once. If you feel that you're unsafe, as long as you feel you're unsafe, you can ask for it again.
Okay, thank you. That reminds me a few times when you last, I think it was the last class, said that you need to be in a state of neutrality
Yes,
in 3D when you start the torsion field. And
yes.
a couple of times I was not in a state of neutrality, so I couldn't proceed with the torsion field. But then I realized that the archon energy was inflating an emotional state of being further into neutrality and not being in neutrality. And after the three M's, the archangels, and my own understanding of rebuking and recognizing their presence, cleared it, and I was able to do the torsion field.
That's why I'm doing it. Exactly.
I was
Very good. Very good.
so pleased to
Yeah, yeah,
figure
yeah, yeah.
out
Yeah,
that
good.
sometimes it's not just up to me
Yes.
to be
Yes.
neutral.
Yes. Sometimes you have to ask for help, as I'm doing right now. For months now, I've been doing the Archangel Michael prayer asking for protection because we're living through a very difficult time now.
Right, very
And your
volatile.
consciousness could be hijacked by fleeting thought and all kinds of inflations.
Right, right.
All right, let's take a 5 minute break and then we'll do the closing meditation.
And when you come back, before we leave, please let us know if we're having a class next week on Easter Sunday.
Oh, I'm okay with that. I don't know what you guys are intending to do. It's going to be Sunday at 6 o'clock. So I'm okay with that. You tell me. If
No, I'm fine with that.
Bobby, Esther, are you going to be going out? You don't have to tell me now. Let me know, okay?
We're okay. I
Let me
mean,
know. Let me know. You don't have to tell me now.
I think we're okay, but okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly, and let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. And notice what you noticed. And the guardian alliance of light approach you, offering to gift you their shields of light and protection and a band of neutrality. If you are ready to accept this gift at this time, answer affirmatively. And let the energy of the first guardian begin on the core of the earth, counter-rotating, moving through the bottom of your feet, passing through your core, exiting outside of your head, and going into the top of the fourth dimensional body, creating all around you a torsion field of neutrality. I remember myself in the fourth dimension. The axis at the top of my head extends and it attracts now the energy of the second guardian coming in from source, rotating clockwise, dropping into the top of the fifth dimensional chakra system, moving down onto the top of my head, passing through my core, exiting at the bottom of my feet, and going into the core of the earth while creating all around me a torsion field of neutrality. I remember myself in the fifth dimension. The axis at the bottom of my feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the third guardian, coming in from the core of the earth, counter-rotating, moving through the bottom of my feet, passing through my core, exiting outside of my head, and going into the top of the sixth dimensional body while creating all around me the torsion field of neutrality. I remember myself in the sixth dimension. The axis at the top of my head extends and it attracts now the energy of the fourth guardian coming in from source onto the top of the seventh dimensional body, rotating clockwise, passing to the top of my head, moving through my core, exiting at the bottom of my feet, and going into the core of the earth, while creating all around me a torsion field of neutrality. I remember myself in the seventh dimension. The axis at the bottom of my feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the fifth guardian coming in from the core of the earth, counter rotating, moving upwards to the bottom of my feet, moving now to my core, exiting outside of my head and going into the top of the eighth dimensional chakra system while creating all around me a torsion field of neutrality. I remember myself in the eighth dimension. The axis at the top of my head extends and it attracts now the energy of the sixth guardian cascading down from source, rotating clockwise, dropping into the top of the ninth dimensional body, passing through the top of my head, moving through my core, exiting at the bottom of my feet, and going to the core of the earth while creating all around me a torsion field of neutrality. I remember myself in the ninth dimension. The axis at the bottom of my feet extends and it attracts down the energy of the seventh guardian, coming in from the core of the earth, counter-rotating, moving through the bottom of my feet, rising through my core, exiting outside of my head, and going into the top of the 10th dimensional chakra system, while creating all around me the torsion field of neutrality. I remember myself in the 10th dimension. The axis at the top of my head extends and it attracts now the energy of the 8th guardian, coming in from source, rotating clockwise, dropping into the top of the 11th dimensional body, passing into the top of my head, moving through my core, exiting at the bottom of my feet, and going to the core of the earth, while creating all around me a torsion field of neutrality. I remember myself in the 11th dimension. The axis at the bottom of my feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the 9th guardian, coming in from the core of the earth, counter-rotating, moving through the bottom of my feet, passing through my core, exiting outside of my head, and going into the top of the 12th dimensional body, while creating all around me a torsion field of neutrality. I remember myself in the 12th dimension. The axis at the top of my head extends and it attracts now the energy of the 10th guardian, coming in from source while rotating clockwise, dropping into the top of the 13th dimensional chakra system, passing through the top of my head, moving through my core, exiting at the bottom of my feet, and going into the core of the earth while creating all around me A torsion field of neutrality. I remember myself in the 13th dimension. The axis at the bottom of my feet extends and it attracts now the energy of the 11th guardian coming in from the core of the earth, counter-rotating, moving through the bottom of my feet, passing through my core, exiting outside of my head, and going into the top of the 14th dimensional chakra system while creating all around me a torsion field of neutrality. I remember myself in the 14th dimension. The axis at the top of my head extends and it attracts now the energy of the 12th guardian coming in from source, rotating clockwise, dropping into the top of the 15th dimensional body, moving down into the top of my head, passing through my core, exiting at the bottom of my feet, and going into the core of the earth while creating all around me a torsion field of neutrality. I remember myself in the 15th dimension. The Mother, Father, and I are one. I am that I am. Osana into the highest. Osana into the highest. Osana into the highest. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome.
Well, I feel rested. I don't know why.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you.
It was very powerful. I'm in verticality now. I can feel it very strong.
It was interesting as we started. I already had the torsion field around me, but it was interesting to go through the process again still. I guess it's like turning on a light switch, it's already on, but it felt good.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You keep the practice, you keep doing it, and what happened after a while, it's gonna be completely default. And the more you have it on, the more healing happens to you. The more your life, everything in your life will change. Your health, your the chaos in the world will not touch you. Everything will change because you're gonna see the chaos, but you're gonna be strangely detached from it.
Mhm.
It's gonna be like remote, like you're very distant from you, like very far.
Mm.
And you're gonna have different idea and perspective. You're gonna understand the karma of the world. It won't bother you. You won't become agitated because the archon will not be able to touch you.
Beautiful.
Love you all, family, and I'll talk to you all next week. Blessings. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Love you all.
Love you too.